many of these different types of raids. Obviously, not always at a celebrity mansion like this in Holmby Hills, but clearly sometimes you see them having to forcefully enter a property and seize evidence, and it doesn't always go so smoothly. And it was, in fact, very smooth the way they gained entry into this property. And after they figured out that side entrance, they were able to make entry. But it's not like they show in the movies, as you mentioned, Stu, right? They weren't battering
Yeah.
down doors and destroying property. This is very methodical, and in terms of many stories we've covered like this, it was a very easy entry, and they were able to access the property and get on site. So clearly, they're ready for anything. Whatever they're going to be met with, you don't know, and that is why they make sure that they are safe in numbers, that they're armored, and that is why you see such a big force out there, because you never know what kind of emotion you're going to be met with.
Definitely, and emotion is really what plays a lot of it, and that's one of the things that we were talking about. Is right now that was the gate that where they were having all that trouble. They're actually looking at that actual door and propping it open, but that was the door that was giving them trouble. And I was trying to figure out if that is actually maybe like a private entrance for that back house. It does actually look like it. It seems like if you're staying there, that's how you get in and out without going through the actual house itself. But you can see they still have personnel there on scene. Every house, there's 3 properties that I would say on this big piece of property. They all have some sort of somebody there, just making sure that there isn't anything being taken or anything moving in and out, and or another person in that area. But that main house, there's still a number of folks that like armored personnel that we've seen go in have not seen come out. But there's some of those ones that are not wearing the gear, and those are that first group that made their way in. They were here originally. They came with the armored trucks. They did not make their way into the property. They waited outside, and now they are actually making their way to that front door, which shows you that their progress is being made. And of course, we were keeping an eye on the as we call them, and it is what they are, the suits down there. I'm sure those are the ones that are pretty much running the show, or where all the evidence is going to go to in the end. They are still outside, so that shows you that they're going to be waiting. I would venture to say when they find something, those are the guys that are going to make their way in and actually looking at and taking things from this home. But right now, that's still that process, I wouldn't even think has actually even started.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to take a lot of time. That is a huge mansion to begin with. And then it depends on what they're looking for. It could be as small as a hard drive, or as big as boxes and boxes full of evidence or information they're trying to collect and gather. And where all of that information is also the tricky part. I mean, think about going into a stranger's home. You don't know where they put things. And so it could be very hidden. So this whole process, it could take a lot of time in terms of them finding what they made entry for. So this is a methodical, lengthy process. And again, this is taking place right here in Holmby Hills, as well as his Miami home. And I'm sure law enforcement officials from both sides in Miami and LA are certainly talking to each other as they go through this as well. But still no sign of Sean Combs himself. We don't know where he is. It's not clear if they're looking for him. He may be in New York, as Haley was mentioning on the ground there. But clearly, this was in all a very peaceful raid as they made entry, and right now as they are making their way in and out of the property as they conduct their search. But a search that is just beginning, as you see those suits, the investigators taking their time, making sure everything is done properly and methodically in terms of what they're looking for at this point. Again, we have a lot of questions that we just don't know the answers to at this point. We do have someone on the line right now, Hal Kemper. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you can make light of what we're looking at in terms of Homeland Security making entry into the Holmby Hills mansion of Sean Combs.
Sandra, this is a Homeland Security investigations that appears to be on site. What they're probably looking for is, well, I should say in general, they look at human trafficking and sex trafficking being a component of that. And of course, there's been some rather big civil suit stuff that's taken place, but also the New York case where the statute of limitations basically had been rescinded, allowing them to look back many years in this case. Part of it was there have been allegations that he was drugging young women, so that there was which certainly implies that it was rape that had taken place at some point. But I think what HSI is probably looking at is the interstate aspects of it. If there was any online activity that could have taken place, and that's usually where HSI.
Hey,
would
what's
have a
going on, everybody? I just wanted to
jurisdictional
jump in
interest.
here real
Homeland
quick and
Security
let y'all know
investigations
that
being
this
part of
right
the
here
Department of
caught me
Homeland Security,
slipping. I'm
looking
going
at
to
the
be
interstate side, mostly
on live
online,
tonight
and
at
whatever
about
took
8 o'clock,
place
8:30,
across
and we're
state
going to
lines.
expound
And of
on all
course,
this shit for real. But
he
I'm going to leave this
travels
up, man.
all
We're
over
going
the
to go ahead and
place.
watch
So
this to the
I'm
end.
sure
All right,
we're
y'all
looking at
cool? Make
him
sure y'all like,
potentially
share,
transporting
subscribe, and
women
then they got tapes and
around the
everything. Boy,
country,
this shit is
and whether
familiar.
that was tied
Oh,
to
my
illegal
God.
criminal activity.
Y'all go ahead
Yeah,
and watch and
definitely
stay in that
Homeland
comment
Security
section. Heat my
involved in
comments
any
up.
interstate,
Make
as
sure
you
y'all like.
mentioned, and
Make sure y'all sharing and
international
subscribing, man. This
criminal
shit
activity
crazy.
here. So what exactly do you
Diddy finna
think
get a
everyone
Rico.
is looking for at this point? We saw such a large number of law enforcement make entry.
Well, it's a combination of both local and federal. And from what I understand, the local law enforcement has the specific lead at each one of these locations, with the federal federal investigators coming in with them in concert. And what they're probably looking for is any evidence that they can gather. Certainly, any images, pictures, video, anything online. I've no doubt that they're going in and gathering up any electronic media, to include any laptops, any flash drives, anything that he might have that might support whatever allegations, whatever reasonable suspicion that they have that led to these search warrants. They just to get a search warrant like this requires a rather a certain substantial legal barrier has to be, or legal argument or legal litmus test has to be met just to get them to sign off. Particularly knowing with somebody with means like this, that if they go into their home, they're going to be met with some very capable lawyers on the defendant's part to challenge what was ever done, and everything they do there is going to be challenged. So you can imagine, not only did they have to work with the district attorney and potentially assistant U.S. attorneys in arranging this, but they also are being very careful on how they're gathering any evidence, realizing that just about everything they do on site will potentially be challenged in court by his attorneys.
Absolutely. And speaking of his attorneys, we did reach out for comment. We have not yet heard back. Obviously, we want to hear his side. For Sean Combs's part, he has denied any allegations regarding sex trafficking and any investigation into that. But yeah, this could take a lot of time in terms of collecting that hard drive and flash drives and any computers they may find. Like I was mentioning before, Hal, it's very difficult to know where someone would have that or would hide that if they were trying to hide evidence. And we're looking at a big mansion here. Before we get back to you, Hal, let's go to Haley on the ground there.
Hey, Sandra. Yes, we just got that statement from the Department of Homeland Security that I was trying to get for you guys about 10 minutes ago. It doesn't say a whole lot, but it says this is attributed to Homeland Security investigations. Earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. We will provide further information as it becomes available. So nothing really that we haven't already told you. Here on the scene, on the ground, a lot of the law enforcement officers with Homeland Security have gone up the hill. You can see one of those big command vehicles coming out, one of those police vehicles. In the meantime, behind us, several of his friends, they've identified themselves as, have been trying to get through the crime scene to get to the house. But of course, LAPD not letting them through. We've tried to get comment from them on camera to find out if they have any more information about what's going on, but they haven't been able to they don't want to provide us any information, I should say. And just in case you're just joining us, we have homes of P. Diddy being raided on both coasts, Miami and his home here in Holmby Hills.
So Haley, just to clarify, in that statement, it didn't mention Sean Combs, correct, or anything?
It doesn't, but we we have confirmation from multiple law enforcement sources that this does involve Sean Combs or P. Diddy. But no, this statement, I'll read it one more time, says earlier today, Homeland Security Investigations New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from both HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners.
All
We'll
right.
provide further information as it becomes available. Of course, we're trying to get them to talk to us on camera, but they said, the lady in particular who sent me the statement says she's not allowed to.
Thank you so much. Yeah, not really clarifying a whole lot though, but clearly understandable because right now, maybe they're not in position to divulge any more information. So let's bring in Hal Kemper here again from Homeland Security. Thank you so much for your expertise in all this. I don't know if you heard that statement, but didn't really say anything except that an investigation is underway in Miami and here. So clearly not stating who it involves or what the charges are.
It doesn't, and they might be crime scenes. I should clarify, I'm not from Homeland Security, but I work in Homeland Security, and I've worked with Homeland Security investigations over many years. Very familiar with not only the agency, but also a lot of the individuals, a lot of the people who work there, to include here in Los Angeles, especially. What they're probably looking at are the two residences, one in New York, one in Los Angeles. And I haven't seen the documentation, but if it doesn't name Sean Combs by name, it's probably because there's been allegations that criminal activity had taken place tied to sex trafficking at these locations. So what they're doing is they're looking at the locations themselves and investigating them as potential crime scenes. And of course, with that, I'm sure the scope is such that they can look just about anywhere, gather up any materials. They're probably gathering up any electronic materials. They're probably doing things like imaging the place, taking a lot of pictures and stuff that may be used later. Could be in reference to what witnesses say on the stand, that they may look at various pictures of the locations themselves to help refresh their memory while they're talking about various activities that may have taken place or alleged to have taken place. So there's a lot of reasons why they might not focus on him per se. Also, there's another thing too, is he runs a fairly large organization. The fact that they don't name him might mean that they're looking at other activities that could have taken place within his immediate, entourage or his organization that involve these properties. So one can't rule out anything at this point because we don't know a lot.
Sure. And obviously, this is just their statement to the press at this point. So what the actual legal documents say and what the statement they gave us is very, very different. Let's be clear. So we're sometimes, not privy to all of those details and information until it becomes available at a later date. But you were mentioning the whole search process. We are seeing so many law enforcement officials, investigators, and this is basically 3 properties on this entire, or 3 homes, I should say, buildings on this entire property in Holmby Hills we're talking about. How long is it going to take for them to go through it? Do they have a time limit? I mean, essentially, some people are going to come back into the home, right, at some point. So how does that all play out?
I'm sure if you were to ask them, they'd say it's going to take as long as it takes. These are huge properties. You can imagine looking through one home takes a lot of time, but when you have 3 very large buildings with a lot of different rooms, various different levels on those homes. Also, they're going to be looking at every nook and cranny. They'll be looking anything that's subsurface in the home. They'll be looking in basically everywhere they can. They could be using a variety of sensor systems to find out if there's any hidden compartments, safes, things like that, and walls that aren't readily apparent. There could be a lot of different things they're looking for, and they may have dogs there too, looking for various different things as well. But they're probably looking for more where stuff may be held. I would imagine with that, and of course anything tied to any of the allegations. We don't know. But certainly the fact that they're there indicates that they probably had, some some witnesses say that certain things happened or certain things were there when they were there, and they're probably trying to verify if those things are in fact there, if that what they were told is correct. So there's probably just a lot of things that they're working through, checking off a list of stuff. And by the way, they may be looking on the grounds themselves. There could be stuff that's not necessarily in the buildings that are on the grounds, and of course they'd be looking at that as well. I imagine it's going to take quite time with a property this big for them to work through all of the potential spaces and places where materials could be.
Thank you so much. We will have more on Fox 11 FM. So if we get information, we'll once again. And now we resume to our original program.
This is our family farm. And our third player is Zach. D20. You actually had no idea. Here's our host.